Hi guys, welcome back to Turn the Page, the podcast where two sisters catch up over books, reviews and all the juicy bits in between. So we are back, Good Friday, all of that, Fish Friday. So it is the last part of The Names by Florence Knapp. And if you're a first time listener, please note you don't have to read the book or even be a reader to enjoy our catch-ups. You can just enjoy the ride. But there's a trigger warning, boom, boom, boom. There'll be mentions of domestic violence, coercive control and murder. So if this one isn't for you, we completely understand, and we will catch up on you. Catch up with us next time, which is going to be When We Were Birds. Early preview. So yeah, you can find us on YouTube, Spotify, all of that stuff. All the links will be below. All the social media links will be below. Follow, if you get into it and you can like it, then you do all the necessary things. But yeah, boom, let's go. Final one. Woo!
Plot points continued.
Hold on! All right, so we are back to 1987 and we are in the Gordon timeline. So finally we have Gordon Jr. So in this timeline, Cora does choose the name that she's supposed to, because remember, she was going to the registrar. I never get it right. She went to the office and she was supposed to call him Gordon Jr. to follow the line of Gordons throughout the time. And she had chosen in one line Bear and the other line Julian. But now in this line, she has picked Gordon. So she does feel as though when this happens, it's quite interesting how she feels in every stage, because in this stage, she feels like this cloud has descended after naming her son Gordon. So when she returns home, she starts to feel like, I don't like this child. Well, I don't want to say don't like this child, but she just doesn't have a connection with the child anymore. And she's suddenly repelled at the prospect of breastfeeding. And Gordon Sr. is very of the opinion of you need to give the baby breast milk. That's the way forward. And he can't understand, which is interesting as a GP, but also he's an abuser. He can't seem to see that what she's definitely going through is postpartum. She's going through postpartum depression, and he don't care about that. So they're preparing for bed.
From
and
1987.
Cora asks, true, that's true. I don't know when postpartum became. Yeah, you're right. That's actually very valid. As they prepare for bed, Cora asks her husband for money to buy baby formula, and Gordon. I was like, God damn! I'm even reading the script back. Apologies, guys. Trigger warning. I hated Gordon's bit so much. So she's just said to him, and in the way when in the audiobook, she's very like, Gordon. I'm like, she's just so meek. Can I have money for baby formula? Because I don't think Gordon's taking to my breast. Gordon stuffs a cotton pad into her mouth and furiously lectures her on the health benefits of breastfeeding.
It's because it's so ridiculous.
Isn't it? Do you not want her to feed this baby? If she can't produce, I was absolutely horrified. I was just like, wow.
Yeah, it's not I'm doing that laugh inappropriate, whatever response that is called. But it's not funny. When you're reading it, you're actually your face is screwed up and you're the scenes are harsh.
And can you imagine listening to it as an audiobook? It's really jarring because you're just raw, how did we get here? But yeah, whenever I was getting to the Gordon bits, I remember thinking can we move on to Bear?
It's gonna be tough. You're just all right, pull up your bootstraps.
So this is when we have Cora. We learn a lot more about Gordon as a man in Gordon's timeline, because obviously Gordon is more around or more present in this timeline. So I'm going to, for ease for everybody, I'm going to say Gordon Sr. as in the dad, the abusive father, and Gordon Jr. as in the son, aka Bear / Julian, aka Gordon Jr. All right. So Cora recalls Gordon Sr.'s kindness when they first met. She was wearing a surgical boot after an operation. I think she's out. I want to say she was on Tower Bridge, but I think I made that up in my head. And he picked up a sandwich packet she had dropped. When Cora revealed that the tibial and fibular bones in her foot had been removed.
South Bank. Yeah.
I was saying there was a bridge, wasn't it? It felt like they were outside bank somewhere. But yeah, maybe she said it. I don't know. she tells him about the fact that she's had bones in her foot removed, and Gordon correctly guessed that she was a ballet dancer. The couple ate lunch. Oh, it's because the couple ate lunch in the Bankman Gardens, guys. There we go. The couple ate lunch in the Bankman Gardens together, and Cora recounted how she left her family in Ireland at the age of 14 to train as a ballerina in England. She also, at this point, confides her fear that her dream of a career as a dancer was at an end because of this surgery. And pause. I just wanted to pause here because I guess knowing what we know of who this man is, I felt like, babe, you're telling this man too much.
Yeah, too much, yeah. Why did you tell him you left at 14? All of this stuff.
Like you're on your own.
Yeah.
Now what are you going to do with your life because you're not going to be able to be a dancer? And I just felt like I was cringing within my body. Sorry, back to it. So we move on 5 months after meeting Gordon, so things move very quickly. Cora becomes pregnant with Maia, and we now find out, because of the things and when Cora's replaying what happened, we find out that he was actually love bombing her, and we kind of see that breakdown of we're going from, oh, this is fantastic, to things aren't seeming very good. Cora starts to lack energy and she starts to feel detached from herself. And I think, is this where you were saying you feel like he was doing something to her at this point?
Yeah.
She starts to feel detached from herself. And one day, so we're back to the present, by the way, guys. One day she turns up her radio and she's actually ignoring her baby's cries. So Gordon Jr. is crying. She turns up the radio because she wants to just not hear him. And coming home unexpectedly, Gordon hears Gordon's Jr. crying and sees her just stood in the kitchen, and he accuses Cora of neglect as he goes up to comfort their son. At this point, he then warns Cora that he will take the children away if he ever finds her neglecting the baby again. Again, postpartum, but I guess it's 1987 and this guy's a dick. He also decides to throw away the radio that was a Christmas gift from Cora's mother. So that one thing that tied her to her mum, he's thrown it away. Afterward, Cora tries to make more of an effort to connect with her son, but she feels in herself that he's turning away from her. And again, we talk about the breastfeeding. She notices that he won't breastfeed, he won't latch on. And she pleads to Gordon to say, like, look, this isn't working. And finally, he decides to allow Cora to buy baby formula. We find at this point that Cora is basically behooved to him for money. This is where you start to see that he is controlling the purse strings. One day, Mary, remember Mary from Bear and from Julian? Mary who regularly used to take Maia and Fern swimming, implies that she has a feeling something's not really right in Cora's marriage. But Cora takes this as an opportunity to be like, no, we're fine. Everything's okay. It's okay. And she then kind of disrupts that friendship with Mary and decides, I'm going to start taking Maia swimming myself in the future. Boy, and that was 1987.
Yeah.
Which is...
I was like,
different.
yeah, this one broke Cora. She fell into her depression and took it out on the baby, unfortunately. And then this one, funnily enough, you hear the least of Maia in the beginning. And she still Cora's still undergoing a few physical moments, but I think in this one, the abuse is a lot more emotional. Yeah, it's a lot more mind games. So,
to be fair, the abuse is everything here. It gets very like you said, emotional, violent. All of it is very. Oof, it is. All right, moving on. 1994. So, Gordon Sr. takes Gordon Jr. to a pizza restaurant and quizzes him about what Cora does while he's at work. So, at this instance, you start to see the dynamic between the Gordons. Gordon senses his dad's boredom when he's describing, like, oh, like, mum doesn't really do much. She kind of just cleans. She, takes me to school. She does this and this. And he sees how Gordon Sr. is just like, okay, yeah, that's not what I care about. So he decides he's going to make things a bit more juicy. Obviously, he is a child at this 1994, how old is he? He's 7. Yeah, he's 7. So he doesn't know what he's doing, but he starts to lie and say like, oh, she said a bad word. She does this, which he feels is like, oh, my dad's excited now. He's actually interested in hearing what I have to say. So eager to maintain his dad's attention, he continues to invent stories about his mother's failings. And this doesn't help his relationship with Cora, because remember, they have that dynamic. So she still feels disjointed from him. Maia clocks this, and she actually dislikes how her brother panders to her dad, because she can clearly see him for who he is. We get to see more of why Maia doesn't like Gordon Jr. when Gordon Jr.'s teacher asks her pupils to write their names to display on the front of their book trays. Gordon writes his favorite name, Luke, decorating the border with stars, planets, and rockets. Angry when the teacher tears up his work, Gordon shoves a female classmate as he walks past her chair. Over dinner, Gordon complains that he wants a drink from a straw like his mother, and you can see he's lashing out. So you have that incident at school. He can't seem to read the room because why does his mother need a straw? Lord, I could tell you why his mother needs a straw. So Cora at this point claims,
read the room at all, 7 or not, man.
In there, it's, like poor Maia is reading rooms.
Fred's daughter could read the room, and she's not even 2 yet.
But yeah, so. I'm sorry, guys. I know, but we don't like Gordon. So at this point, Cora claims that she's recovering from dental work, and Gordon Jr. does look, and he notices that one side of her face is swollen. But for him, he just thinks, oh, I'm being excluded from this big secret. Like, why is nobody telling me what's happened? And this is when Gordon continues to invent more lies about his mother. So we get on to Maia, who is doing a babysitting job for a couple who she can tell is very different to her mum and dad. They seem to be really in love with each other. They're like kissing and smooching. And she imagines them based on her sex ed classes, because I think she contemplates that they're similar to the figures that she sees in the sex ed cartoons or whatever. And she then thinks back to her mum and dad at night. She often wants to know if her mum is all right, but she doesn't really want to hear what's going on. But because of this dichotomy, she finds herself listening out to make sure her mum is okay in the other room, but all she can hear is her dad grunting, but she can't hear her mum at all. And so in this instance, she feels like sex isn't a good thing. It's more something that's being done to her mother. We see her in school, and we find out she kind of clocks on that she's not really attracted to boys, but she does feel quite conflicted about her feelings. She decides to focus on her studies and aspires to become a doctor like her dad and grandfather. One night, I believe she was poorly, so did she go to bed early? I can't remember what the reason was, because I think when she's relaying the story, she says to her mum that she was sick. So one night she wakes up and goes downstairs, and as she's heading to the kitchen, she sees her father forcing Cora to eat rotting food from a bowl on the floor. He's like pushing her to the floor. He said stuff like, oh, eat like the animal you are, because you insist on making it that we live in a pigsty and stuff like that. So Maia sees this, and she goes back upstairs and vomits up everything she's eaten, which is, yeah. The children in this arc never see their grandma Shiva, and this, Gordon doesn't allow Cora to phone her, bearing in mind Shiva's in Ireland. So we do find out that Shiva does send the kids' birthday and Christmas money. It's just that their dad, Gordon Sr., places it in an account and they can't access it. So he does this. We also find out he does the same thing with Maia's babysitting money. So he's just keeping all the funds. We have Maia, who is on her way to school, and she's still thinking about what she saw the night before, and she finds some change on the floor at the train station, and she decides that she's going to buy a stamp and send a letter to her grandmother. And in this letter, she's basically telling her grandmother everything that's happened with her mum and dad. It's almost like a way of reaching out for help. So I think it's because earlier on, I believe Cora's talking to Maia about her mum and says her name and says what her name means and stuff like that. And this is what kind of pushes this in Maia's head that maybe Grandma Shiva might be able to save us. A few days later, Shiva calls Cora whilst Gordon is at work, revealing that Maia had told her everything, and she offers to send Cora cash so that she can buy tickets to come to Ireland with the kids. Cora says she can't leave as she would lose custody of the children, so she knows that she has to stay. Cora then assures her mum that the children are safe, they're well provided for, and she ignores Shiva's subsequent phone calls to the point that Shiva actually calls for a police officer to do a wellness check on her. So a police officer comes round and says that Shiva has reported a case of domestic abuse. And the policeman, again, is a patient of Gordon's, and he's relieved when Cora claims that Shiva has dementia. Yes, that is 1994. Thoughts, Lola?
Luke meant, because at the back of the book it had all the random name meanings. Some of them it didn't have, you had to Google, but Luke meant light given or bright. So I thought that was ironic that that's the name that he chose for himself when because it was subconsciously he even didn't really know why he wrote Luke down. And then I hated that we did this whole trope of the man will take the kids and all of that stuff, but yeah, I guess it is realistic, but that's part of the reason what kept her captive in this arc, because like when we last left her, she was resolved to leave. Well, it was because well, she wasn't actually really resolved to leave. Actually, in the Gordon one, she's a little bit more trapped because it was the emotional abuse was a little bit more intense. So yeah, he's in this arc, he's doing the whole yeah, I'll take the kids, you'll never have the kids from you, a little bit more severe. So she's held a lot more captive here. But yeah, that's it for me.
All right, so moving on to 2001. So we have Maia, who has become a junior doctor, following in her father's footsteps. And we find her flirting. So she begins dating somebody called Kate, who is a trainee. They have a little bit of flirt and they start dating. And they keep this relationship a secret. We go to Cora and Gordon, and we have this kind of idyllic scene where Gordon takes Cora to a gathering of doctors. I believe, like, when I was reading this, I was like, oh, wow, like, this seemed quite like, oh, where did this come from? I was unfortunately quite happy to see that they were having a good moment until you, like, read it more. You're just like, oh, this is probably not as good as we all thought. It shows kind of how they are as a couple to the world. You have them with the doctors and their wives in the Cotswolds, and the other wives are regularly socializing together, and they're making a fuss of Cora because it's really rare to see her. And you have Gordon on the other side. He's being really charming. He gets on with the guys. Even like you got women at one point saying like, oh my gosh, like your husband's so lovely, and everybody would want a husband like Gordon and stuff like that. There's a point where they're going for a walk, and we see I believe Cora stood off to one side looking at the view, and Gordon starts to run up to her, and Cora freezes. And I think this is the point when I was just like, oh, okay, this isn't like an idyllic scene. She freezes because she's concerned that he's charging towards her. But she laughs with relief when he picks her up and spins her around. And she's like, oh my gosh, wow, this is different. So she picks up on some cues. She's really careful not to be alone with any of the other men during this outing. And on one evening before dinner, Gordon had suggested that, Cora, you need to limit your calorie intake. So at the dinner with the other couples, Cora starts deliberately taking only small helpings of food. And I believe somebody else looked over and was like, oh, Cora, you eat so light. And Gordon turns over and declares that, oh, like she eats like a sparrow, and starts piling more food onto her plate. And Cora starts to get a bit nervous and tells him to stop. But when she's doing it, she lightly touches his hand. But Gordon makes this big show of it, spilling over his wine glass, and implies that she used quite considerable force to do so. We move on to Gordon Jr. So whilst his parents are away, Gordon Jr. attends a party with his classmate, Lily. And Lily is the same Lily from all the other, we assume, is the same Lily from all the other timelines. So in this timeline, we see more of their relationship or relationship, I guess, as kids. Lily's really nice to him. She often defends him from the taunts of the other boys at the school. She was a little bit popular at this point, whereas Gordon Jr. is not as popular. We also start to see Gordon Jr. becoming a bit too keen on the alcohol. So he steals one of his parents' bottles of, well, not his parents, but probably Gordon's bottle of Gordon's gin, because he's amused that it bears his name. So he quickly becomes inebriated and he's feeling more confident and less inhibited. So there's a party that's going on that night, which he was invited to by Lily. And this is the party that he heads off to feeling a bit more confident and bolshy. At the party, Gordon Jr. notes that the other boys treat him with more respect when they see him holding hands with Lily. So he goes outside in the garden with Lily, and him and Lily begin to kiss. However, when Gordon Jr. he gets a bit too into it, he places his hand in Lily's underwear. She is trying to pull away, and she's not vocalizing, but he can feel her not wanting to do this, but he doesn't stop. So he keeps ignoring her protest, and he actually pins her against the tree and tries to continue. And after a while, he stops. He apologizes, but Lily, being really distressed about it, she leaves the party early, and she's really angry. We return with Gordon back inside to the party, where he tells the other boys, instead, because they all ask him like, where's Lily? Where did you guys go to? And stuff like that. And instead of him to just be honest and be like, I did something, or whatever, he's trying to be one of the lads, and he says, Lily's a bit of a slag, and claims that she stinks down there, highlighting the fact that he's fingered her. And all these kids, being dickheads, they all laugh, and they start calling him Gord. Oh, yeah, Gord, you're cool, Gord. And he feels good. Now his peers have finally accepted him. He's really into this whole acceptance of the males in his life. And that's 2001.
I thought that scene was written very well. You could feel Lily's fear and anxiety as the scene was going on, and when she started to protest and stuff. And then, drunk or not, the author didn't absolve Gordon of the guilt in that situation. So it literally explains how, being drunk or not, you still have a responsibility to follow consent. Because initially she wasn't vocally protesting, but she was very clear. You don't have to say an sadly, I know a situation where when we were younger, sadly, one of my friends in a drunken situation, something happened and the police didn't press charges because she didn't physically, she said stop, don't, basically words like no, but because she didn't physically say the words, the actual word no, police refused to press charges. And this was a guy that was at her uni, so she had to constantly see this guy, and he would constantly smirk and make like fun of her. I thought this was really, where she wrote that scene was actually quite you could feel the fear for Lily and everything. So and then when Gordon acted like that, you could tell he didn't want to, but then when he saw that he can gain acceptance from his peers, he played into it, because you could see he was also uncomfortable with what he'd done, but when he saw that he could use it, he didn't feel no way to use it. So I thought that was really written very well. And then also Maia becoming a doctor, you could see she felt some reservations when she was deciding, I think in the last arc or something, but then so when she finally became a doctor, I was like, okay, so she did become a doctor, then we know how this is kind of going to go, then we know how this Maia's going to be. But again, Maia isn't really as there's a lot more of Maia in the other chapters. In this chapter, we're kind of more focused on Gordon Jr. So we don't really hear more from Maia in the Gordon arcs, really, which makes sense. True. They're not close. So
exactly. Yeah, you're right. That makes sense actually. And didn't you find that he was basically doing the same thing when he called her a bit of a slag? It was kind of doing the same thing that he did with his dad and his mum, just lying about his mum. Now he's lying about Lily. again, just lying about these women in his life. So, yeah. God. Alrighty, moving on. Gosh. 2008. So we have Gordon's math degree. So yes, he went into maths. He left his sister Maia to do medicine. He did maths, and he's earned himself a lucrative job in investment banking. He feels accepted in this industry where his male co-workers frequently behave boorishly. They drink to excess. He feels in control because he likes the idea of putting commands into a computer and getting a response. So I think there's a line where he's like, he does something and he's like, you are God. So it's still that whole complex he has where he needs to be accepted by the males in his vicinity. And we have a scene where Gordon Jr.'s dad and grandfather, they're all at dinner. And you have Gordon, I think the grandfather says like, oh, like, how are you getting on with your job and all the numbers thing, because they're both doctors and they expected him to be a doctor, but he's not a doctor. And you could tell that they look down on him for becoming somebody that's not in medicine. And at dinner, Gordon Jr. then decides to order a drink. So this is where we see that he has become more dependent on alcohol. And instead of ordering a gin, which is his drink of preference, he decides to order a whiskey because he's aware that the men at the table don't like gin. We move on to finding out a bit more about Cora. So at this point, you can see it gets a bit dark or darker than, how it is. Cora starts to feel a bit more purposeless because her children have left home. So you've got Maia, who's moved out. She moved out quite quickly as soon as she could. And you did have Gordon, that he went to uni, he's got left uni, and then he's moved out. And she finds that her life now revolves around domestic chores. She's like trying to keep the house clean. She's trying to keep it tidy for Gordon. She had always told herself when the kids go, she would go. But she then made another thought of, okay, if I leave, it's going to be a risk for when Gordon comes back from uni. But now he's left, she still hasn't been able to leave. It's gotten much worse for her at home. She can't watch TV because Gordon takes the remote control to work with him. She had this radio that she really enjoyed listening to because she enjoys classical music. He's taken that away. He's also disconnected the landline. Cora also has no friends. She rarely gets to speak to her mother. And when Maia occasionally calls Gordon's mobile, because Cora doesn't have a phone, it's only to ask his opinion on work issues. And when she does speak to Cora, she keeps the conversation really brief. She tries to rush her off the phone. So we find that Gordon has also ensured that Cora can't access their mail by installing a postbox to which only he has the key. However, one morning, luckily, Cora is outside. I think she was doing some sort of gardening or something outside when she notices the postman arrive, and he just, without thinking, hands her the mail. She's somebody that lives there, let me give you the mail. So Cora at one moment is a bit shocked. She doesn't know what to do. But she's like, okay, I've got the mail. Maybe I should put it straight into the postbox. I don't want Gordon to know that I've had the mail. But then she sees a letter addressed to her and she decides to take that letter inside. So she steams open the envelope and she sees a letter that is from a solicitor asking Cora to confirm she has received the funds from her late mother's estate. So this is where we find out that Shiva has passed, and Cora wasn't aware she'd passed because Gordon had been deliberately withholding this information from her. We find Cora in a bit of a daze. She's angry, she's upset, she doesn't know what to do. So although 20 years have passed since their daughters went swimming together, Cora decides, maybe I'll go to Mary for help, because remember in that first chapter in the Bear arc, Mary had turned to Cora at some point and Gordon had said, was it in the Gordon arc?
This is Gordon.
Yeah, I'm saying that going back to...
Yeah, in the Gordon arc, Mary tries to hint like, oh, are you being abused? I know something's going on. And then she goes, oh, piss off, basically.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you. So she's now remembering that Mary was willing to help her at that point. So she's like, okay, let me go to Mary. Maybe she'll be able to help me. So she walks to Mary's house, but learns that the family had moved away 5 years earlier. Cora starts to panic because she then realizes, what have I done? I'm too far away from the house. I don't have a key back into the house because Gordon has the key. And she's concerned that when he returns, he'll see that she had opened the mail. So in desperation, she carries on walking. She doesn't know where, and she ends up at the local veterinary practice. This is one of the few places where she knows that her husband has no connection. She walks in and a curly-haired vet is kind to Cora. This is when I was just like, is this that guy Felix? But yeah, but spoiler, I think it was Felix. Because I don't know if we ever hear his name. Because I think she actually says at the end, she's like, when everything happened, she's like, I remembered I'd never got his name. So we meet this curly-haired vet who is really kind to Cora. I know she basically walks in, and I think she says to the receptionist, she needs help, and like the receptionist is looking at her like, are you okay? And she's like, can I speak to the vet, or can I speak to the man? And obviously she doesn't have an animal, so they're looking at her just like, okay. But she gets the vet comes out, and he can see that there's something's wrong. He's like, do you know what? Let's go into the consultation room and let's talk. And at this point, she reveals that her husband is abusing her. And bless him, he's like, okay. He's like, I'm going to give you a moment. I think he says to her, like, do you prefer cats or dogs? And I think she said, I prefer cats. And he brought her a kitten. And then was just like, I'm just going to pop out. And he calls the local women's refuge. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is like, thank you, Felix, all curly-haired man. And we then have a woman named Della who arrives, who takes Cora to safety. So she takes her to a women's refuge. Afterwards, like I was saying, reading the script, Cora realizes she never actually asked the vet's name. But I'm going to tell you guys it's Felix. I'm sure it's Felix. So we move on to Della, who now calls Maia. And at this point, the phone's ringing and Maia's like, who's this? And Cora answers and says, it's me. And Maia's shocked because she's like, Cora's calling me off of a number that it's not her number, and she's never called me first. So first she's a bit shocked, and then she's just like, what's going on? Then Della takes the phone and explains that your mum has left the house, and she reveals that her grandma had passed and Gordon had kept this news to himself. At first, Maya's like, grandma? No, my grandma hasn't passed. Like, I spoke to her a week ago and she's just like, on your mum's side. And then she can't believe it. And you could tell that Maia is a bit, I don't know, she's acting as if this is like, oh, this is all brand new. And even Della, she can tell with Della's a bit like, I don't trust you too much. I don't believe that you're on your mum's side in this situation. So Della does at some point say, she explains that, she gives her a bit more information saying like, look, your grandma has passed and Gordon kept the news to himself. And along with this, your Cora did have an inheritance, but your dad has kept the inheritance away from her to make sure that she was financially dependent. So we get this part where you can tell that Maia feels guilty and realizes she had actually chosen not to think about her mum's situation since leaving home. She does feel guilty about this, and she can feel that Della doesn't see her as a safe space. And when she tries to say, can you give me a number to call you back? Like, is there anything I can do? Can I come meet you anywhere? Della says, do you know what? No, I'll call you. And they kind of end the call. At this point, we have Kate, who comes up to nuzzle next to her and says, like, are you okay? And Maia then realizes she's also kept her relationship with Kate a secret and has concealed her family history from her partner. So she's basically concealed quite a big chunk of herself from the people that she loves. Oy. That was 2008.
Yeah, I think, so like I said, Maia was humming and hawing about becoming a doctor because she's also trying to get her dad's acceptance. We see her in the Gordon arc a lot, interact with Gordon Senior a lot, but it's only about becoming a doctor. And in that scene where they go out to dinner, obviously they don't really care that she's a doctor because she's a woman. They wanted Gordon Jr. to be a doctor, and he became an investment banker instead, which that's more new money. And obviously being a doctor is traditional profession, so it's more old money kind of in their family's eyes. So yeah, from Maya's perspective, when the whole thing happens and she gets the call, she starts making excuses kind of for her mum, for her dad, and she catches what she's doing, but she kind of, it's not like she's defending him, but she doesn't know who this woman is, and she's kind of trying to make her family not sound crazy to this woman. So she's kind of
I guess it's something she's had to do, hasn't she, for like her whole life.
So I think that was when she tried to catch herself, and the woman like kind of shamed her for her behavior in the beginning. I thought that was a reality check for her, which was good. And then so Cora had been saying throughout the whole abuse that, oh, the reason why she's staying is for the kids, and obviously the kids always are gonna grow up and leave. And now she's left there with this madman who's taken the remote to work and stuff, and he's ramped it up like his abuse up a notch. So it was like, what is keeping her? Then, like Kim said, she starts making new excuses to stay. So that was really like, okay, we're going to be here for a while, which is the whole thing about it takes a while for people to leave once they've been. And then the author sets up all the barriers that Gordon has set up to Cora being freed. Like even that escape, when she leaves, she's not dressed properly. Like I think she's not wearing shoes or something.
She's not wearing shoes.
Yeah, so she's not dressed properly or nothing. And that whole scene of her just being coincidentally outside, and even just her taking the post, in her eyes, she feels like she's committed a crime. Like she feels like she's like completely like flabbergasted, and the way that the pace and the tense of that scene is set out. It really set up how hard it is to when it's not like, okay, yeah, let me just leave. Basically, it shows how hard it was to leave. First, she needed to find a safe space, and coincidentally, she just from her randomly walking, she ended up in somewhere which gave her opportunity to now think, okay, maybe I can leave, end up in this best place. And then luckily, he reacted well. She could have ended up in another shop, and that the person thought she was a crazy person. And sent her on her way. So. And then once she got to that point, so we're still thinking, okay, yeah, she's finally free, but yeah. Anyway, so I think also her finding out the death of her mum, more importantly, the death of her mum shocked her into like, okay, this is ridiculous. This man is taking it too far. But actually, I think it was actually more importantly the mistake of her leaving the evidence behind. Because
it made her carry on going.
Yeah, that because when she had left, I can't remember I think she left the unopened envelope, or she left something, and she had just left the house. So she was like, she needed to get back. And once there was a point of no return, she was like, okay, I can't actually get back, so let me just keep going. It wasn't like she was really thinking, oh, I've had enough, he's done too much, let me leave. It wasn't like a empowered leave. It was more like a series of events. I thought that was really written well.
When you say like that, it wasn't like I'm running away from him now. It's I can't go back, so I'll just keep going. Yeah, you're right.
And then even when we found out that Silver was dead, the way that happened, that wasn't what I expected the post to be about. So that really was like raw. Like she. The author's very good at, when we get to a new arc, we know there's going to be some kind of crazy twist, because by now that keeps happening. But every time it happens, it's always well thought out, because in all the other arcs we get to know Silver a little bit, and then something happens.
I was going to say,
in this one, we don't really get to know her, and then boom, she's just dead.
And then bam, she's dead. Yeah, because especially because this would have been, because the chapter for Gordon is usually after Julian, and Julian's relationship with his grandma is like a whole person with a relationship with Kian and stuff like that, and she's really involved in their lives and taking care of them. And then you get to Gordon and you find out Shiva's dead, and you're like, oh my gosh, we know Shiva, like like how did she die? Is she okay? How's Cora gonna take this? But that was wild. He ramped it up. That I don't know why, but I think I was really shocked at the aspect of him just not letting her know that her mum had died.
It was the taking the remote to work.
Yeah.
Imagine a doctor just walking around with a remote in his office or something. You go to a GP office and you just see a Sky remote there. But you're going to know what's going on there.
Do you know how bad that is? No TV in the room at all. Just this one Sky remote. Like, what do you expect? What do you have? And the thing is, he would have probably told his people if they found it that, oh, Cora's not feeling very well, and he would probably said something because. It was wild. What did you think of? I don't know. I just yeah.
The radio as well. I can't remember if it's a common thing throughout the other arcs, but this radio is like a big thing.
Because it was from Shiva.
Yeah, so like it's like a fancy radio, but I think he is in another arc, and he's vindictive with it in another arc as well. So when he eventually takes the radio and stuff, it's like, God damn it. He's like, it's literally, he's just, when he sees she's getting a little bit of fun, because I think he comes back one time. Oh, yes. It was in another arc where I think this is the same arc or something. When she left in the Julian arc, she left and she bought herself a radio. No, she didn't Julian arc, she said. In the Bear arc, she must have left and bought herself the radio because she saw it or something. I can't remember. Anyway, it's not that important. But, he's very big on anything that gives her joy, taking it away from her when he sees she's getting joy from something. So, yeah, I thought that was
wild.
Interesting.
Alrighty. I think this is when shit gets even realer. 2015. So we have Cora, who, whilst waiting for Gordon Sr. to come home, because she does the whole cleaning his house, making sure everything looks tidy, and Gordon has started to do this thing where he doesn't explain what time he'll be coming home. So before, he used to be a bit more clockworky, like 6:30 on the dot he'll be home. Now he won't tell her. So at 6:30 he comes and goes. I think he gets to like 7:30, and she clocks that he's not come home, but there's nothing she can do. She just does what she needs to do and just waits for him to come home. And while she's waiting, she remembers or thinks of the fact that he's due to retire in a year, and wonders whether retiring from being a doctor will help make things change. So we find out that Cora has tried to leave Gordon Sr. several times, and when she returned after the fourth attempt, I think he'd coaxed her back. She believed her husband had genuinely changed. He started to take over the cooking. He bought her thoughtful presents. He was really nice to her, taking care of her, like saying that she didn't have to do anything around the house. And although he still didn't give her access to the TV or the radio, he did try to keep her up to date with current affairs. So they would do this cute thing where they would be on the sofa, she would be lying on his lap, and he would be reading the newspaper and telling her all the stuff that was going on in the newspaper. So one thing that he told her was, we've got the election of a new prime minister. It's somebody that's come back into office. And we find that Cora is constantly tired. She's constantly confused about things. And she does a thing where she's like looking out the window and she's like, fantastic, spring's here. And he says it's a bit early for spring. It's only February. And she's like, I thought it was April. So it's stuff like that we find that she's having a bit of a cognitive decline. So Gordon Sr. takes her to a doctor's appointment, and we find out that this appointment is a cognitive assessment. So the assessor starts asking Cora questions like, and these are quite cliche questions that you ask a patient with dementia just to see how far along they are. So it will be like, who is the prime minister of the country at the moment? And at this point, Cora says that it's John Major, that John Major has come back to lead the government. And then she says, then he asks, or the assessor asks, what's today's date? She says a date, and the assessor then looks at Gordon with a look, and then Cora clocks on. She's like, damn, have I said something wrong? And she starts to get really concerned, like, what have I done? And Gordon Sr. just, he reassures her and explains it's going to be okay, it's all right, don't worry. They leave this appointment and they get home, And we start to see that Gordon Sr. starts to revert back to his old ways. He's not helping her anymore around the house. He's bossing her around. He's basically saying, like, you know, you're fine, you're healthy. The doctor says you're healthy, so you can get back to doing the housework. So he stops helping her. And then it gets to a point where he all of a sudden snaps. She doesn't know what made him snap, as she says, but he physically assaults her again. And at this point, she's like, do you know what? I'm going to leave. I will leave. So she starts to prepare to leave, and Gordon comes up behind her and says, did you think I'd let you leave again? He holds up a document that shows that he's got lasting power of attorney over Cora's affairs due to her decline in her cognition, because this came up with that cognitive assessment. That's why his things changed towards her. And we also find out he's been prescribing her meds and has been drugging her so that she has this cognitive impairment. She's shocked about this situation. She can't believe it. He's basically been poisoning her. He's done all of this to keep her stuck where she is. And he's like, you're never going to leave me. You can't leave, because if you try to leave, who's going to believe you? I now have power over you, basically. So we have Gordon. He picks up Cora, says, you know what, let's go for a drive. And she's like, okay, doesn't know where we're going. They end up at a dementia unit in a dementia home, and he uses this as a warning. He takes her all around the place. He introduces, he speaks to the staff that are there. They're explaining that it's a secure unit, that, you know, once people are in there, they usually aren't going to leave, that they do take care of them. And he's basically putting the fear of her being put in this home if she ever tries to leave again. So Cora's of the opinion that she's stuck now. There's nothing she can do. Nobody's going to believe her if she tries to leave. She's tried to leave before and has come back. What is she going to do? But Cora then finds that her only comfort is that their son, Gordon Jr., has returned to live with them. So we have Gordon, who, unfortunately, his drinking hasn't gotten any better. He had become addicted to alcohol. And this addiction to alcohol culminated in him drinking and driving, and he ended up crashing his Porsche on the motorway. He loses his job, he's hospitalized, and then is put in a psychiatric unit. And after all of this, he kind of leaves the unit as this more sensitive, vulnerable individual, because I think he's now contemplating like how he got to this position. We then meet Rob, who is Gordon Jr.'s Alcoholic Anonymous sponsor, so at least he's making the right steps. And they're having a conversation whilst I believe Rob's doing some sort of crafts work whilst Gordon Jr. is around him. And Gordon Jr. talks about how since becoming sober, he started to dwell on his mistreatment of other people, especially thinking about Lily, who he tells Rob he sexually assaulted. And that we find out that after everything that happened at the party, we find the repercussions for her at school, where that the boys were taunting Lily after the situation because of what Gordon said, and the girls started to avoid her. So we then find out that she went through a really difficult time. She felt alone and ostracized, and then had a mental health crisis and left school. So Gordon feels really guilty about this, and now in this timeline, at this age, he searches her name just to see what's going on with Lily, and he finds out that Lily has become a human rights lawyer who, I think she's married with kids, and she represents victims of sexual assault. And he's just like, wow, I did that because of what I did to her. This is what she's ended up to become. We move on to Maia, who has developed a closer relationship with her brother since his accident. So she was visiting him in the hospital whilst he was there. They've built up more of a relationship. It's probably not like as close as Bear and Maia, but in this situation, they are getting closer. So she invites him to an art gallery. She is thinking that they can meet up, and at this point, although she and Kate have been a couple for 7 years, she's still really reluctant to let anybody in her family know that she is with Kate. She doesn't want people to know that she's gay, and she's really fearful of how her father will react. But Kate is really like, I need to meet your brother. I need to meet somebody in your family. I don't know anything about your family. I don't need to meet your dad. I don't need to meet your mum, but I would love to meet your brother. So she then relents and allows her to come with. So we have Maia and Kate arriving at the gallery. They walk around with Gordon Jr. and he sees them, she kind of introduces them, Kate, as a friend. He sees them, he's just like, I don't think you're just friends, mate. Like, there's something else going on here. So he guesses they're a couple, and he's not shocked, he's not judgmental, he's more upset. I don't know if it's upset's the best word, but he's more maybe shocked, I don't know. He's more upset that she has kept this from him for so long, that he wasn't a safe space for her to tell him, or that she was so concerned about him knowing that she was gay, and that him knowing that she was gay. So he's more of that. That's more of his feelings surrounding the situation. He's not really concerned about her being gay. So they're walking around the gallery, and then they stop at a painting by Francisco Goya, which is Saturn devouring his son. And it's a painting of a wild-eyed man consuming a smaller decapitated figure. And Maia looks at it whilst they're stood there in silence, and then she says that this Saturn reminds her of their father. And this kind of triggers something in Gordon, because he feels that the painting does speak to him, that he's the decapitated figure, and Saturn is his dad. So this painting does speak to him at that instance. They go off to a restaurant, and later in the restaurant, Maia apologizes to Gordon Jr. for her comment about the painting, realizing that it upset him. She asserts that their father did not consume Gordon Jr., but rather she takes into consideration the fact that she's aware that he was manipulated by him, and he manipulated Gordon Jr. By rewarding him for hurting their mother. So he was using Gordon Jr. to hurt their mum. And she acknowledges that she also failed Cora, that she's left Cora on her own. She's kind of tried to erase that part of her life, and she feels bad as well. She's like, I think they leave saying like, we need to do something to help mom. Like, we're both involved in this situation. So as they're leaving the art gallery, Maia they're walking off, and then Maia turns around, she smiles at Gordon and says, please don't tell dad that I'm gay. And after meeting Maia, Gordon Jr. feels really overwhelmed. He feels like not just the meeting Kate and Maia, he's also feeling really overwhelmed about his conversation with Rob about Lily, and he starts to crave alcohol. So he's walking past a off license in the UK. An off license is a shop that primarily sells alcohol and other snacks and bits. So he walks past the shop, and then he goes in, picks up a bottle of wine in the shop, because he wants to pick up a bottle of wine in the shop. But however, his eye is caught by a bottle of Gordon's gin, and he goes to pick up the bottle. But when he picks it up, he looks at the swirls of the writing, and he sees the name Lily, and he starts thinking about Lily, and he thinks about everything that's going on, and he gets really overwhelmed, and he puts the drink back on the shelf and runs out of the store. He's like running down the street. My guy likes to run everywhere. But yes, so that is 2015.
Yeah, I thought Maia, Gordon Senior, and Cora were pathetic in this arc. All of them.
Pathetic or prophetic?
Pathetic. Cora was so pathetic in this arc. It was just so jarring. And yeah, I just thought Maia and Gordon Senior were just annoying, because it was just them two having stupid discussions about Doctor and whatever. And it's like, okay, this man's been a madman in the background, and she clearly knows, but she's just trying to play ignorance is bliss. So yeah, they were just a little bit annoying in this arc here. And the whole thing with Saturn. So Saturn is Cronus in the Greek gods, who, remember, is the son of the sky and earth, Uranus and Gaia.
Mm-hmm.
And when the Titans, so initially the Titans, I would say Cronus was like the defender initially, because Cronus initially to separate. That's how the sky and earth separated, because I can't remember which ones. I'm guessing Uranus. Uranus kept wanting Gaia's mother. So Uranus kept wanting Gaia to have babies. So he was constantly on top of her. So the sky was flat on top of the earth, and the Titans fought, and that's how the sky is. I can't remember what they did, though. They tricked him, and that's how the sky is constantly is permanently separated from the earth. That's the story. And then it was Cronus, and then Gaia told Cronus, or I think it was one of the Fates or something. I can't remember. Someone prophesied that one of Cronus's sons would do the same thing that he did.
It was the Fates.
Yeah, that he did to Uranus. So that's why he kept eating his children, and then I think it was someone gave him a rock, and then that's how Zeus was able to break free when Zeus was born. Gosh, I should really know this. But when Zeus was born, what's it called? Instead of giving him the baby, Gaia gave him a rock, and then he threw up all his other children, I think. I can't remember how Zeus was able to break free his other children, his brothers and sisters. But that's why Zeus is the leader of Olympus.
Yeah, that sounds about right, because that's why everybody else is defers to him, isn't it?
Yeah. So Uranus would be Gordon Senior. Cronus will be Gordon Senior, aka Saturn. By the way, remember I linked over to Greek so that I could explain that story. And then Gordon Jr. is Zeus.
Okay.
I thought that was when she brought that picture up, because initially I was like, Saturn, who's Saturn again? And then when we get to the epilogue, I was like, oh, so then if you paint it in like that, because initially Uranus wasn't a bad guy either. Initially, he just wanted to love on his woman. And then, so Cronus wasn't initially a bad guy. He just was fearful of this prophecy or his own
Uranus
son.
is Cronus, right? Because you were saying, and I was just like, they're two different people. Uranus is Cronus.
Uranus is Cronus's dad. Uranus is Saturn's dad. Saturn is Cronus.
So where did Gaia come from?
Gaia is Uranus. So it starts off with Gaia and Uranus. So it starts off with Gaia, actually. I can't remember if Uranus comes from Gaia and then they start having babies, but it starts off with chaos, actually. It starts off with chaos. From chaos, you get Gaia, and then Gaia had Uranus, and then they have babies. But Uranus was so obsessed with Gaia that the sky was flat on top of the earth. That's how they describe it. But basically, they were always having babies, that the babies couldn't break free, the Titans. So there was loads of other Titans. That's where, the sea god comes from. All the other Titans come from. And then, so that's Cronus and all of them lot. And then Cronus...
Oh, so he's a child of Gaia and Uranus.
Yeah. And Cronus he was the one that freed all the Titans. He led the way to free the Titans. There's more to it. I think it was more like the cyclones and stuff were involved, because there was the Titamaniac, oh gosh. But basically the fight, the Great War of the Titans, and then the Great War of the Olympians. So yeah, I reread like Greek mythology quite often. So or like Norse mythology as well, because they're quite similar. The only one that's quite different is Egyptian. And then Roman mythology, I think Roman's really just, I don't really get into Rome. Do I have a book on it? I don't think, but yeah. So if in that regard, Cronus basically, he was like, Titans were very, because they were born closer to the time of chaos. So Cronus isn't a bad guy, basically. So Cronus is Saturn, is Gordon Senior, is what I'm trying to say to you. So Cronus isn't supposed to be a bad guy.
Okay.
He's just a product of his environment. The Titans are mad. And then also Cronus was just in fear of his own son, but he didn't know what to be fearful of. So he was just causing destruction. And that's why he had to be defeated. Then we get Zeus. But if you remember, Zeus turns out to be, he's constantly cheating on his wife. He's just having babies with having all these demigods, causing chaos. The Olympians are basically just like they're not good people either. So you can kind of see how Zeus is seen as a good person, but he has a bad side to him. So I thought this was a very good analogy. When she threw this in there at the end, I was like, oh, okay. But when you see how Gordon reacts to it, and then I think it's in the epilogue again or something, you see this another reaction to it. Or is Julian? You see him see this painting again. Is this in the Julian arc?
No, he goes on a holiday. It's Gordon.
It's Gordon again.
He sees the painting again. Yeah.
So this when we start seeing him look at it through this, because right now Gordon's going through this transformation. He's more akin to the Julian character now after this car accident. So he's been humbled. He was an investment banker. He was basically living the Wolf of Wall Street life, and then he crashed his car and lost his job and all of this stuff. Ends up back at his mum's house, and he starts looking at the situation with his parents through an adult's eyes, and he's like, right, this is madness. So I'm actually starting to like Gordon Jr. He's the only one with sense here. He's looking at everything and he's starting to think, okay, this is madness. He starts to do little things like bringing his mum candy and stuff.
Wait, that's you're going too far.
So he starts to realize that, hold on, and then also he
takes
starts
charge of the situation.
And that's why he starts reflecting on, hold on, I've actually been an asshole, and starts thinking about all the stuff he done to Lily, all the stuff he's done to his mum. So even his sister, he's like, obviously he's younger, but he hasn't got a good relationship with his sister. So when he goes to meet her, it's very awkward with her. He doesn't really know how to interact with her, but he understands that he should play this role. So even when she comes out to him, he's kind of like, yeah, so I knew that. And then, but when she gave that disclaimer, like, don't tell Dad, it kind of pissed him off a little bit. Like, why don't you think I know that? And then he started to think, why do I know that I need to protect her from that? And I think that's more, it wasn't more like, oh, she didn't trust me or find me a safe space. It was more like, right, why is she saying that? And then he started to think about, oh, hold on, why do I know that? And then that's when he started to think about his dad, who he really was. And yeah, and then when the scene with the alcohol, when his intention when he went to go get the drink, because he was overstimulated. So when he went to go to the shop and when he went to go and get the drink, his intention was to buy a bottle of wine. But when he walked in and saw the Gordon, that's actually what threw him seeing the Gordon, and that was his, like that whole name thing, because he drank the Gordon gin initially when we first see him see a Gordon thing, just because it was his name and and he was trying to live up to something and get acceptance from his dad. So it's this whole thing of the acceptance, I think, with this arc, and then obviously he's just seen this Saturn photo. So yeah, it was a lot of realizations for him in this arc, and it's a turning moment for him here. So this is when I start to like the Gordon Jr. character, but the rest of them were very like, I really hated Maia in this arc. Cora I wasn't as sympathetic as I should be by this point, because it was like, girl, come on, get up, go. This is ridiculous. He's doing madness to you now. Like, come on. So yeah,
but my guy's made her look crazy. He's made her look crazy.
Oh yeah, so I skipped all. So I thought, yeah. So to touch on that, so I thought when she broke this bit down, so yeah, in the very beginning of the Gordon arc, she's explaining how they met and stuff. So Gordon's arc would have been the last chapter of the first segment. So in the first segment in 1987, we learn a little bit about how they met. And I thought, something's weird, because she just touches on it very briefly. But even back then, like when she started to have children, she was always tired. So, but she just mentions it a little bit. Like, she was always tired. She was always forgetting things or something. So I was like, And then when we get to this point, he said this bit, it was like he's done this before. So I think he was drugging her for a while. He stopped when he realized, because he did this early onset dementia thing already. So when he got her to this final interview, that was to officially document that she has dementia. She's basically what happened to Britney Spears. Like, she's not... She's not.
Do you know what? I know what you're saying, because do you remember there was a time when she breaks down and she's looking at carrier bags? She brings out all the carrier bags out of the cupboard or something, and then he's just like, I'll take you to one of my friends to see them. Yeah. And then he puts her on,
and he was prescribing her drugs, and it was like, what drugs are these? And it was like, it was making her even fuzzy, but she kept having to take them. So I think he's been doing this for a very long time. And the way that she wrote this bit, out, I was like, oh, this is how he's been doing it, because he prepped this thing for so long. Like how Kim told you the story, she makes it seem like, all him, this is a bonding moment, him retelling her with the information because he took stuff away, so he's trying to give her a little bit more back. No, he's trying to confuse her. He's telling her rubbish so that he can go to this interview that he's booked way in advance. So this is a long game. He's playing a very long game. So when I got to that point, I was like, because she's been trickling in, oh, she's tired, oh, she's confused, like the Cora arc in this bit, in the Gordon bit. So it's like, he's been doing this because obviously in 2020, when 2015? Oh, when 2015?
2015, yeah. 2015, yeah, 2015.
Well, in 2015, he's been doing this for years now. He's been doing this for decades. So it was really sad to see when she actually started saying what she was saying, like, rah, she's so isolated that she literally thinks this stuff. Like, and then you start to feel so uncomfortable.
But she knows nothing. Even the fact that that's why he took the remote. Because she can't just find out what's going on TV.
That's what I'm saying. This was that's why you start to think back, like, oh, that's why he took the remote. Oh, that's why he did that. Oh, that's what he's been prescribing her. Because she does hint that, these pills, I don't really know what they are. I don't know why I'm taking them. So you think about, he's a doctor, dodgy. But you kind of let it go because you jump into another character. You jump forward 7 years. Yeah. So when we get to this point,
as soon as I heard that, I remember thinking, like, why did you go? That doesn't seem sensible. You're just like, I'm just going to take her to a doctor. I'm going to prescribe her medication. I'm like, you're not allowed to prescribe medication. Are you allowed to?
No. We're not in America.
Not for a family member like this.
We're not in America. We just have script pads and you can just write what you want. Yeah. I was like,
it's not very good practice to just do that. Nope.
I thought that when she slowed it down and she broke it down, I was like, oh, right, this guy's been doing this for time. And then when he said, like, you're not going to leave me again, I was like, yeah, he definitely has done this before. Like, so yeah, I thought this was really, again, messed up, but she made it clear, like, yeah, it's not that easy.
Yeah. I felt, and I think I've said this earlier, I felt reading the Gordon parts really tense. It's so fucked what he's done. Yeah. Like, for such a long period of time. Like, guys, we've gone from 1987
the definition of hopeless
to 2000. Yeah. Like, as when we get to 2022, this, spoiler alert, it gets a bit better. But there was a point where I was thinking the Gordon arc it's not going to be good. Bearing in mind, in Julian, she dies quite early on, but it felt like we were just watching her go up to her death. Like, when she's talking about that he's going to retire soon, I was just like, bro,
he's going to kick it up a notch when he's idle. The devil makes work for idle hands and all of that.
Yeah. Oh, it's because she was like, hopefully once he's become a doctor and once he retires from being a doctor, he'll be better. I was like, oh, babe, I don't think he will. You're just together. Oh,
what happened to doing this for the kids? Like, come on.
Yeah. I was like, this is stressing me out. But yeah, like, I really feel like the author did a really good job with this part. It'll be interesting to know, like, which part she enjoyed. Or which one she got really invested in. I feel like she got really invested in, I guess, this bit. This is the more emotive part in comparison to, I guess
this is what it was supposed to be, and then all the other two are supposed to be. So, like you said, the next bit for Gordon is a little bit more positive. So all of them is Cora goes an empowered journey, regardless of if she died in Julian one. There. Yeah, but she this one is a very, very slow but painful journey. Yeah.
Alrighty, let's get on to it because we keep talking about it. 2022. So Gordon Jr. is now working at an art gallery and he lives with his girlfriend, somebody called Comfort, and Comfort's teenage daughter, Ida, who affectionately addresses him as Gord. So I believe 2022, is that during COVID? Is that the COVID arc for everybody? Or was that?
Yeah, it's just
it must
after,
be. Yeah, it's the COVID. Yeah. So it always feels like when COVID happens in these arcs, some mad shit happens, I guess. Because that's when their past is in 2020. Okay. So she affectionately addresses him as Gord. It's a good relationship. Gordon Jr. is feeling like a new person, basically. He's doing really well at the moment. 68-year-old Cora, she's living nearby in her own home. Okay. And although Gordon Jr. and Maia worry about their mother during the pandemic, she enjoys having a space of her own, tending her garden. Guys, she's still tending her garden. And she enjoys listening to the radio and podcasts. So we're going to find out how we got there. So Cora at some point is recalling how her life changed when Gordon Jr. came home after visiting the art gallery with Maia. And she can tell something's up with him. because he's not acting the same way he usually does. He seems to be in a bit, not in a state, but he's different. So something happens. They're in the kitchen, and the Cora has dished up food, and the dad used to do this thing all the time where he would denigrate Cora, and he makes a sarcastic comment about Cora's burnt offerings. Gordon Jr. steps in and defends her and says, like, Dad, when has mum's food ever been burnt? And this shocks him because he's like, okay, Gordon Jr. has never actually stepped up for Cora before, and even Cora clocks it, and she notices that Gordon, because I think she keeps her head down, and she notices that there's still 2 feet in the kitchen because the other 2 feet leave, and she looks up and she sees that Gordon Jr. is still there. Gordon Sr. has left the room, probably in shame or in shock. From then on, we see these little moments with Gordon Jr. where he's shielding his mum from taking responsibility for any domestic mishaps that happen. I think there was a point when I think a glass broke or something, and Gordon Sr. was ready to start shouting at her to say, like, you can't do anything right. And then Gordon Jr. steps in and is just like, no, I did it. I broke it. It was me. And it's these little things where it's kind of like making the dad look silly in these situations that's shocking him, and he just kind of retreats, and it's making Cora look at Gordon Jr. with a different light, like, oh, it's not that overt hero complex. It's just these little things that really get to Cora. So one day, Gordon Sr. is out of the house, and Gordon Jr. comes home early, and which is really nice for Cora to see. And he sits down with Cora, who's a bit antsy. She doesn't really want to sit down. She wants to do something. She wants to clean. And he's like, oh, let's sit down. I'll just tell you about my day. And he brings out some chocolates and some sweets that he saw as he was coming home. I think he bought the sweets, but he made out that he got it as a sample and was like, oh, I think you'd like it, Mum, have some. And we find out that because of everything Cora's gone through, she's not actually had sweet treats or anything like this in a really long time. And she's really pleased and really touched by the things that he's done. And they start to open up, and he starts talking to her, and we see them bonding. He even shows her his phone. She's never used a mobile phone before, so he's even showing her how to zoom in and zoom out of pictures and stuff like that, which Cora's really shocked about. And they're really building that relationship until a point where Gordon Jr. decides that he's going to move out. So I was stressed at this point because I was like, you can't leave her. You're her only ray of sunshine right now. Please don't leave. So soon after the son's departure, Gordon Sr. resumes the abuse of Cora. So this whole time, it's been really helpful that Gordon Jr. has been around because he's basically been a buffer to help. But now that Gordon Jr. is gone, Gordon Sr. he's ramped it up. So he at one point is assaulting her, I think in the bedroom. He makes her sleep on the floor. He's pushing her face into hot food. He's doing all these really evil things. And you're just horrified by like, oh my gosh, like what's going to happen to her? And then I believe Gordon Sr. had left the house, and Gordon Jr. has come to visit. And we find out that Gordon Jr. had installed secret cameras in the smoke detectors in loads of different places around the house whilst he was home. And he had confronted his dad, I think at the GP surgery at his workplace. He had confronted his dad there and threatened that he was going to distribute the footage of his abusive behavior to all the partners and everybody that he knows if he didn't stop and leave his mum alone. And consequently, Gordon Sr. takes this as the threat that it is, and he decides he's going to move out of the family home. He signs over the property to Cora. They get divorced, and he sits at the table and he's sitting opposite Cora and Maia and Gordon Jr. They're there and they're backing Cora, and you're just like, oh my gosh, like we've got to this point. And you see Cora just being like, I can't believe it. Like, Gordon, you did this. Like, thank you so much. And it kind of was just like, oh, wow, shit, okay. So we move on back to the present, because that was obviously a little flashback of how we got to the situation. Gordon Jr. goes to Spain with the family. So this is with Comfort, Ida, his stepdaughter, I guess, Cora, Maia, and Kate. And while the family is on a boat trip, Gordon decides that he's going to visit a gallery, and he sees the painting by Goya, the Saturn devouring his son. And he's listened to an audio guide which explains the myth of Saturn, and it's recounting how the god ate his children out of fear of being usurped by them. So there's more background to why we had this happen, and it's quite an interesting take because, you know, you have Saturn eating his son Jupiter, who was protected by his mother and escaped, later going on to overthrow his father, which Gordon Jr. did to this with Gordon Sr. And that is the end. We have an epilogue. Shall I go straight to the epilogue? I'll probably go straight to the epilogue, and then we can talk about our bits. So we have the epilogue, which is in 2022, and lying on the kitchen floor, we have Gordon Sr., who realizes he's dying from a heart attack. Aha, motherfucker. Although he tries to focus on the many patients he has helped and, you know, going back to doing a flashback of his life, instead, the thing that keeps coming up in his mind is Cora. He keeps reliving the abuse that he inflicted on Cora and reflects on the impact this had on his children. We have Gordon Sr., who imagines a life in which he allowed Cora to just walk away after their first meeting, that he didn't ask her on a date or go any further. He also envisions Cora taking Irish step dancing classes as a child instead of ballet, because maybe she wouldn't have hurt her foot and got into the situation to meet him. She would have fallen in love with the boy at school. She also imagines his first visit to the hospital where his father worked. So instead of feeling admiration for the deference his father inspires in his colleagues, he instead overhears the hospital staff expressing their true feelings about his dad, and he becomes determined that, no, I'm not going to follow in my dad's footsteps. We also finally have Gordon Sr. imagining Cora arriving at the registry office, and for whatever reason, walking there with Maia, who's 9 at the time. Instead of naming the child Gordon Julian Bear, she names the child Hugh after her late father. And that is the end of the book.
So yeah, I thought that was really cute how Gordon ended up saving his mummy. So it was very cute and very smart. So yeah, that's why I was like, okay, once he went through that transformation, it was more like which Julian Bear or Gordon. It's like, is it about the journey or about the end point for you? Because yeah, I think this one was the most successful in how he went about saving his mum from having a part to play. The other two, he didn't really have a part to play with anything. He was just more of a reactive or cause and effect thing kind of thing. So yeah, I thought that was cute. In the epilogue, this is the we haven't ever had Gordon's point of view, so this is the first time we get his point of view. So that was quite interesting to see, and it was nice but it was nice that it was when he was dying, and then we get a flurry of these alternative paths, ending with Cora choosing to register her son as Hugh, and yeah, it's painted because that's the name for her father, but it also means mind, spirit, or heart. So I think and I think that's the core of all of the characters with him. He is very intellect. I mean, yeah. So I think he is very, because we called him a thinker and stuff like that in the Julian one. In the Bear one, he's got the heart bit, but he's not really a thinker. Really, he's more impulsive in that one, isn't he?
Yeah.
So, and then in the Gordon one, he is very much a thinker. He overthinks things. We get the most of his point of view actually in the Gordon one. I think so. I thought that was when she threw that Hugh name in there. I was like, oh, what? And then like I said, the name meanings are at the back of the book for certain names. So I was like, okay, that makes sense. And also, I thought when she went through that last flurry of alternate universes or alternate paths, like, oh, if she didn't do that, this wouldn't have happened. That's basically what I thought the book was supposed to be about, the butterfly effect, and how your name, one little thing like a decision in a name, can drastically change your destiny or whatever. But instead, we had the undercurrent theme of the TV. So overall, I thought the concept was very interesting. I would have liked it without the DV, but then once I got over that, I was actually the way she explored that, especially with everything being such a short book, how she was able to execute two things and pack a lot in, was very good. I thought the only things that jarred me was like the random current themes to try and, I guess, ground the jumping of the 7 years. I didn't think she needed to do that because she already, when we jump forward the 7 years, she reflects back, so it marries up the jump, the jump that we did. So I don't think she needs to add these random current themes to try and tie the plots together. It just jarred me. Like it stood out.
Took you out of the story, isn't it?
Yeah. And then I think a little bit more forewarning in or describing the blurb accurately, because I think if you are someone who has some if you've ever been in a situation like that and you're reading this book thinking it's you're just about to do a conceptual book, read a conceptual book, or what these what is this but if you're gonna, that's what I thought, contemporary fiction, or so when I thought that's what I thought this was, and I come in and it's heavy on a domestic abuse. And like I think that's it was I had to change gears, but it's definitely one of the best books that I think have explored domestic abuse. So again, well done for doing it in such a short amount of time. So I did give it 4 out of 5, and it was tastefully done. It wasn't insensitive, and yet like all those tough topics, it wasn't insensitive. And to cover 35 years in like such a short book, I feel like, and like I said, it's 3 characters, but you could also see them as 9 characters. So you could read that book a couple times and get a different thing from it. So it's really good.
Breaking out the characters, which Gordon, Bear, Julian, who did you like out of the 3?
Julian, probably. I liked Gordon at the very, very end, but he was such a twat for so long.
It's kind of like, all right. Which Maia did you like out of the 3?
Oh, Maia and Bear.
Same. Okay.
Which
Cora?
Which one of the son did you like? Which one was for your Gordon, Bear, or Julian?
I didn't like Julian. I found I quite liked Bear.
I liked him, but he was a bit cold.
Yeah,
he was good for himself, but he wasn't very good for others right up until the end. That girl nearly had to lose her legs before he realised.
The way you say it, it's true. It's true. She probably had to go through so much for him to be settled in his country. And then he passed away from a bee sting. It was like he zoomed in and then zoomed out. He's like a tornado. But I quite like the Bear storyline. Gordon at the end, I was clapping. I was like, finally.
He was the most active,
and
saving his mum.
Taking charge. Because Gordon's name means great hill, immovable, looming, a hard climb to reach the other side. And I was just like, we finally got to the other side with our dear Gordon in the Gordon timeline. I rated it a 5. I really enjoyed this book because it stuck with me. It really did stick with me. I think out of all the Coras in the 3, I think obviously because we didn't really get to. I was going to say we didn't really get to meet the Julian Cora because she dies very early on, but she tried to get away. I quite like the Bear Cora, I think, because she's more of a fleshed out character. We see her living life, trying to, get through life a bit more. Although we learn more about her as a person in the Gordon arc, even though she is so stunted. But you're right. She did grow as a person in each of them.
I think it makes sense that she's the protagonist because she's the one that's the most centered. Like her outcome is different, but her character isn't different really. She's literally just got different situations she's reacting to, whereas the others change quite a bit depending on where we're at, what arc we're in. Whereas she's more, it's more her situations just different.
But the book stayed with me, man. It stayed with me afterwards. I was like, It's a good book. Florence Knapp. This is her best. Oh, somebody said it's the best debut novel in years. So it's her debut novel, and I enjoyed it because she's previously written a non-fiction book about a centuries-old method of quilt making. Random. And then we go from quilt making to the names. So yeah, if you do want to read this book, like Lola said, the blurb. One thing is, I didn't read the blurb. Lola told me about this book. I started reading it, and then I was like, hold up, wait a minute, this is domestic violence. But I didn't know about I didn't actually read the blurb. And you're right, in the blurb, it doesn't say anything about domestic violence. It basically just says, the most it says is domineering men. That's all it says. So you're right. If you go into it reading the blurb thinking it's going to be one thing, you're going to be shocked because it's not. So yeah, just a trigger warning, I guess, for anybody who wants to go into reading the book. They do speak about some terms. Some outcomes happen that aren't all that great. So just bear that in mind when you're reading the book. But yeah, man, I liked it. I really enjoyed it. Yeah. I really enjoyed the book.
Yeah, she put a lot in there for such a short. But like I said, I like people that are able to be concise. Like, if it doesn't have to be pages and pages, it doesn't have to be. I didn't leave it thinking, oh, she should have done more. She should have done more. With 3 characters, 4, and then even with Shoban Kian, it really didn't need. We felt like we had a different character every time. So she did quite a bit. And yeah, the setting, you realize when they go on that adult trip with their friends, Gordon and Cora, the setting doesn't actually really change that much. Obviously, we're in England or Ireland, but the settings are really contained to houses. So it's not really, you had a good mix, basically, is what I'm saying, of what was going on. There's not too much, not too little. It was very good. It was well written. It was very well written.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, you're right. I think other than the jarring, present day things or current affairs that were happening in the background that, like you said, weren't really necessary at all, because what was going on in the body of the text was enough. Like, it was fine. Like, we didn't need to know that there was this big storm.
The characters linked them. Yeah, you didn't need this storm to carry, to center the plot. I think the characters centered the plot. So, yeah.
Because it was like people like Lily, like we're just like, oh, that's Lily, or like even the curly haired vet.
Yeah, we
knew it was Felix. Like, so you didn't need anything else for us to think, oh, we're joining up all the timelines. So yeah, but other than that, I still really enjoyed the book, and I hope you guys do too. I hope we gave it its sensitivity for where it's needed, because it was a topic and a half. But yeah, shall we move on to read receipts?
Read receipts.
I'm doing the good one, the 5-star rating. This was by Chris, who rated it on the 16th of May 2025. He says, The Names is not merely a remarkable and deeply moving debut novel. It's a sort of heartbreakingly beautiful book that even writers with 24 books behind them rarely produce. The premise is daring. How would changing a child's name change a whole family's destiny? So Florence Knapp has written, in essence, 3 extraordinary novellas about one family, and how Cora's decision to name her second child Bear, Julian, or Gordon unleashes wildly different lives for him, his sister, his father, and of course herself. Knapp has not merely designed an extraordinary architecture for her novel, she's also a stylist of uncommon talent, with sentences that left me staggered by their perfect rhythm and dialogue that was always spot on. This book is riveting and whip smart. Read it, you'll thank me. And he had 143 upvotes, and somebody responded, I'm looking forward to this one. Great review. I don't know if you have Gordon being different in everyone, do you? You just see his abuse going for a longer period of time, because in everything he was violent.
I think the Gordon one, he's a lot more emotionally abusive.
He gets
very vindictive.
Very vindictive.
Yeah, the whole thing is power, I think, for him.
Yes. Yeah. And you know, one good thing I quite like that she didn't try to, like, obviously we were aware that Gordon's the way Gordon is probably not helped by his father. But I didn't, sometimes when you have these situations and they try to make you feel sorry for the villain in it, I don't think Florence did that. It was just basically like, Cora's speculating that it's because of this that his hand trembles and stuff like that. So leaving these kind of like indicative notes, but it wasn't a clear like it's because of A, he became C. Like, I don't know. I quite enjoyed that we didn't feel bad for Gordon. I didn't feel bad for Gordon. Bloody quad. Anyways, your turn.
I'll just read. There's loads of them that are like annoyed about the blurb being misleading. Like this one really quickly is like the focus was more on a mother staying with her abusive husband and how that can affect a child's life than how the name she gives her child could change the direction of his life. A misleading premise with very little to enjoy. But there's loads saying stuff like that and people arguing about it. But this one I thought was interesting. Jordan gave it 1 star. She said, "Wow, I'm so disappointed. I wanted to like this so much. The concept is so interesting, but I can't even begin to tell you how mad I am about the execution. Do you know anyone even remotely similar to how they were 7 years in the past? No, me neither. 7 years is enough time for most people to completely transform into someone new. And the characters in this book are no exception. I basically felt like I was reading about a new person every single chapter, which really pulled me out of it. The minor details that catch me up from the last 7 years are not enough for me to care about where they are now. I desperately wish this was written in 3 parts. Bear, Julian, and Gordon spanned over less time. I would have been a lot more invested and it would have been much easier to follow. I'm so upset. Someone needs to avenge this concept and do it better." And then someone said, "I'm angry with the author. She must have wanted us to hate the book. And if she didn't, then I hate the author." I think it's just that misleading thing. Like if you think you're coming into the book about one thing and then it's and then it being about that, I think she needed when she did it, the author, maybe it was a short story initially and then the editors and publishers was like, you need to flesh it out, add something. Why are we invested in this or something? Maybe it was like under that direction because it does seem mismanaged, but a lot of it is like another one. Had to put this one aside. The premise was interesting, but the domestic violence was intense and made this book not for me. And then people are like, once you get past the DV, it's worth it. Like, because this book is very, what else was it? Someone was like, I was waiting for this in the library. I did not know the blurb. The blurb did not say this. And it's like, yeah, I think it's just that the marketing of it is, and then it's got a lot of hype as a debut. It was on a lot of debut lists and stuff like that. So,
Sunday Times bestseller and stuff like that.
So I think they needed to manage that a little bit better, to be honest. I'm trying to find
the expectations. But like what that person said about, I wish this was 3 parts. I don't know. I quite like how this was done.
Yeah, I don't like how we reviewed it. I mean, if you lose some of the magic, but when the way we review it, you lose some of the magic.
Yeah. Because I like that it was different chapters. But I also didn't take into consideration it was 7 years difference each time. That didn't jar me that much. Maybe because
I thought she handled that very well.
Yeah, I didn't. It was just like, 7 years later. Like, I think he grew as a person. He was different in every name. So I don't know. I don't know.
This person was like an attempted creative look at what's in a name by tackling nature versus nurture, which I thought that was initially. Is it because of the decision? Because like I said when we first touched on the decision to choose the name, is it really nature versus nurture, or how she reacts to the name that she and like the meaning she gives behind the name? Because it's Cora's difference, because she was cold to Gordon. She never grew attached to Gordon, so Gordon never felt any need to protect her, defend her, until he kind of saw her for who she was as a person. But this person's like, if there's no blurb, it's very difficult to understand what is happening. It took me at least 2 7-year jumps, time jumps, before getting a sense of what was happening. Even then, so much is rehashed and retold that it's not enough for me to settle into the story. So, and that's what I'm saying. There's the 7-year jumps isn't bad because she does a lot of backpedaling.
Yeah.
So it married it up. So I think you needed to get on the rides. If you weren't on the rides and you were fighting it, you wouldn't understand.
Yeah, you're right. I think when you say it like that, I can see where people are probably just like, what is this? What is this? Especially because it doesn't get raw. I find I'm trying to find when I was a bit like, oh shit. I think it was because even the scene when Vihan comes and steps in and saves the day, as much as I enjoyed Bear, I don't think his story was that deep. It was a bit like, it's Bear being Bear. Whereas I think Julian
and Gordon's was a little bit more fleshed out.
Yeah. So as much as I hated getting to Gordon's bit, it was kind of like you felt like the story's being moved along.
You learned a lot more in Gordon's bit.
Yeah. So that's why as much as I hated getting there, I did appreciate Gordon's bit, because Bear's bit was a bit like, okay, he's traveling the world and, trying to settle down, although he died very abruptly and I can't get over that death. That was wild. But yeah, it was interesting. I liked it.
Initially, it felt like Bear. Not initially. In the middle of the book, it felt like Bear was a different kind of book, and then we got back to the doom and gloom. Because it was just like him having relationship troubles and trying to be a good boyfriend.
And I low-key thought that when I got to grips with what the concept of the book was, and then the name and Maia calling him Bear, and I thought Bear's character would be the protector and savior. But he was just out here living his best life. Well, not living his best life, but yeah, like he didn't really know what happened with the abuse, because he wasn't of age when it was happening, and they didn't tell him. So it's a bit like he was really sheltered in comparison to all the others. But yeah, so true. More and more I think about it, Bear wasn't actually the best son arc. I think it's because it was a lighter part of the book. But I don't want to say Gordon, but Gordon was more, I guess. Damn, I'm going to say I liked Gordon's bit. Maybe I liked Gordon. I don't know. I just liked the ending. I liked Gordon in the end. Yeah, because he came through. He came through. And the way he saved her, it was just like, he did it in such a good way. He's like, look, I'm just going to step in, I'm a man, I'm a grown man. I'm just going to step in and, stop my dad doing stupid shit. And then my guy was just like, all right, I'll film this shit. I know how to get you is by shaming you. So this will shame you well. Shame you well. And I was like, well done. That was just so smart. Like, why didn't Maia think of this? Maia, where are you?
She's too busy trying to kiss his ass, because she's also a doctor, isn't it?
She was still quite fearful of him up until, because we never find out whether she's told him that she was gay. I don't think we ever find that out in this timeline. But yeah,
in any of them, actually.
No, in any. We never find out. No, because even when he sees her in the car in the Julian, no, was it Julian or Bear? No, maybe I think was that Bear, because he went to prison. Yeah, it was Bear. She's just in the car with her, but obviously he's not going to know. He's probably just assuming that's a friend. And he can't see, like, unless he's in a van and can see into her car, he can't see that she had her hand on her thigh. So yeah, he didn't actually know who his children were at all. And I think that's what happens in the solicitor's office. He kind of looks at them as like, oh wow, I don't know these people. Don't know his kids, and he's shocked at how they've taken his mum's side.
Because I feel like, you walk in and you're expecting Bear, Julian and Gordon to be completely different, which they kind of are, but it's more actually about how everyone else around their lives dramatically changed because of this decision. And then it's like, okay, their nurture is different, the nature is different, they're in different locations because of the ramifications of it. So is it really the name that caused, because this is what Cora was pondering.
You're right, it wasn't.
Yeah, she could have named him Gordon and left. So, and you would have been in the Bear arc or the Julian arc. So, yeah, it's really more her motivation behind the name, how she was treating. It was more her perception she put on a name. Even Maia, her perception she put on Bear, and all of that stuff. So, yeah, I thought that was in a sense, she did explore that. Like, okay, is it? And then when we were talking about it just now, I realized also it's one of those ones where do you appreciate the journey, or are you about an end goal? So whatever it takes to get to the end goal, or are you like trying to get the best journey? Because if you want the best journey, then yeah, that would be what's it called, Bear. But if you want the best end goal, then yeah, Gordon.
It'll be Gordon. See, poor Julian's just there on the wayside. Poor Julian. Poor Julian.
Because he was always conscious of his trauma and always trying to fix himself. So I think Julian's just there because he was always trying to work on himself and do what he needed to do. Even when he fixed himself up for Orla, that's why we thought she was being too harsh. But we do, if we were probably in Orla's position, we would get it. So
yeah, fair.
So, because from our point of view, we're like, Julian's trying, man. He's doing his best.
It's like you don't know what he's been through because we've seen him in all the other aspects. You could have been Gordon.
Yeah. You could have been Lily.
You could have been Bear. Like, you don't know what you've been through. Like, gosh, it's true. But yeah, so I think that's it. Because on one last point was we were talking about the decisions, and I guess it's. She chose Bear, and she knew how mad choosing Bear was. So that's why she was so fearful, because Gordon's going to look at her like, you piece of shit. Why would you choose
Even
Bear?
in a normal relationship, people like, you named our child Bear, like, without talking to me.
Exactly.
If it was
I sent you to do one job.
Yeah.
And then you've got Julian. She tries to placate him by saying, Skyfather and all this other stuff. And sorry, it's because of the audiobook. But so she tries to use the name, because it sounds like when we then find out you had this other name, Hugh, like it's almost like Gordon's trying to say, like, well, she might not even choosing Julian if I wasn't an aspect. So you have she chooses Julian, which is more of like this is an ode to you, but I'm still not gonna do Gordon.
Sorry, just to add, at the end when they mentioned he was like, I didn't even think about the fact that we didn't even think about what about her dad. I don't think she even mentioned her relationship with her father. So we never. She
doesn't at all. She doesn't. But we find out that he did pass when you meet Shiva in the Julian arc, because she's talking about how she was her husband passed away early.
So yeah, it's true. She never even considered her own father's name. So that was when they put that which was her dad. I was like, oh yeah, why wasn't that an option?
Yeah. Like why did we go to Julian or Bear? Like, so yeah, but yeah. So like I said, I like the book. I gave it 5 stars. I really like this book. Even when we were preparing the script and I was going through it again, I was like, oh my gosh, this bit. So yeah, so I guess that is it, guys. I really hope you guys enjoyed the episode. Hopefully this is a one-parter, but we have talked a lot and it's not my turn to edit, so maybe Lola will be able to cut this shit down, because I can never seem to cut these episodes down.
No, me too, mate. It's looking like it might be too, but hopefully we can squeeze it down.
Yeah, hopefully. Good luck, bro. Good luck. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the episode. I really hope you guys enjoyed the book. I listened to it as an audiobook. You can get it as an audiobook if you've got a Spotify package, which is, I've quite enjoyed the audiobook in comparison to some of the audiobooks I've listened to recently. You can also get it on Amazon. And yes, so that is The Names by Florence Knapp. So yeah, leaving you guys with the pharmacist course. So if you don't like, share, subscribe, and follow and do all the good things, you will be cursed with the pharmacist course, which is diarrhea and constipation at the same time. Okay? Goodbye.
Then they cancel each other out.
No, you're not supposed to think about it that hard. Don't think about it too hard.
All right. Yeah. Goodbye.
Bye.
Gosh. She's trying to get fired.
Well.